Hello, I'm Alma Schneider. I'm a licensed clinical social worker and the proud mother of 4 children, one of whom has Prader-Willi syndrome.
And I am Iris Miller. I'm a certified rehabilitation counselor and the proud mother of 2 children, one of whom has quadriplegic cerebral palsy and is nonverbal.
In this podcast, we discuss the uncensored truth about raising children with disabilities.
Prepare to laugh, cry, and hopefully learn something new.
This is 2 Moms, No Fluff.
Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us for another episode of 2 Moms, No Fluff, the podcast in which we discuss the uncensored truth about raising children with disabilities. This podcast is brought to you by our nonprofit, 1 in 6 Support, supporting families of children with disabilities, their communities, and organizations. Today, I'm here, Iris Miller, with my partner and co-host, Alma Schneider. Hello, Alma.
Hello, Iris. Thank you.
Alma, would you introduce our very special guest speaker today?
I am very excited about this guest because I feel like I reached out to a celebrity and he responded, and we are so excited to learn from you. So today we have therapist and author Mark Sitchell, who wrote a book that I have had in my bookcase for 20 years. This book is called Healing from Family Rifts, and it really is a wonderful guide for families who have experienced tension leading all the way up to estrangement and how to deal with that in the best way possible. So, Mark, thank you for coming. We're so happy you're here.
I am too. I'm glad to be here.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, why don't we start? Can you tell us just a little bit about yourself? Anything you want to talk about professionally, personally, just so we can get a little sense, we can have our audience get a little sense of who you are, and then we'll get right into the book.
Okay. I'm Mark Sickle.
I'm sorry, I said Sitchell.
That's okay. No one gets it right the first time. I grew up in New Jersey, moved to New York after college, there until the pandemic, got married in 1985 to my wife, Cindy. She came with 2 children from her first marriage. We had 2 children from our marriage. So we raised a reconstituted family. I forget the word.
Blended family?
Blended. It was a blended family.
Yeah.
And we're very fortunate that her ex-husband is very cooperative and a good co-parent, and
Good.
it's my biological children like his.
Yeah.
So I do his. So with the pandemic, we didn't need our New York offices anymore. And we moved first to Texas for 2 years because our youngest son had moved there.
Okay.
And then we decided we didn't like Texas. We belonged in Florida.
Okay.
And we're very happy here. It's quiet and it's good for seniors, let's say.
That's what they say. That's what they say. Good weather.
So, Mark, I want to ask you, how did you come to write a book about healing from family rifts of all topics?
Okay. So I always had a rocky relationship with my family of origin. A lot of strife, conflict. It was bad. I went to therapy for years and years because I believed I was the patient. I was the identified patient. No one in my family thought they had a problem. It was all me. And finally, I stopped believing that. And my father and sister used to triangulate and find reasons to criticize mostly my wife and me on our behavior. And it was pretty crazy to be criticizing 2 adults with a family and not doing anything wrong, but
Mm-hmm.
that was the deal.
Mm-hmm.
And when it was Thanksgiving Day, we had done something or not done something that irritated my father. And he called and he was screaming into the phone, F you, F you, F you. You're never allowed, welcome in my house. And that's it.
Wow.
So I was feeling pretty destroyed, as was Cindy.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't know how to explain it to our children because they had an okay relationship with their grandparents.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then we looked for a book on this topic and we couldn't find one.
Mm.
And so Cindy said, now's the time to write one.
Wow. I love that. Yeah. If it doesn't exist, create it.
I did.
You. Good for you.
I was a pioneer.
Yeah. It's a subject that people do not talk about very much. And in your book, you do touch on that, that it's very shameful for a lot of people. They're not perfect, the family's not perfect, and they just kind of sweep it under the rug. So thank you for bringing it into the light. It is truly an enlightening book. Um, and it's a gift. It's a gift to society that you've written it truly.
Well, thank you, Alma.
Sure.
Um,
So the book is now over 20 years old. It was written in 2004, which I couldn't believe because I feel like I can't believe I've had it on my shelf for such a long time. But it's when you read it, it seems very extremely relevant for today. The same thing. And I'm wondering, since you are a pioneer in this field, of family rifts and estrangement, has much changed since 2004 in the field of dealing and healing with family rifts, or is it basically the same as when you wrote the book?
things have changed, not particularly with family rifts.
Mm-hmm.
Overall, society has changed, and people are not experiencing the kind of shame that we experienced 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
People are getting a lot of support on social media.
Mm-hmm.
There's all kinds of groups and stuff. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and they can get support and be anonymous in this way.
Yes.
Uh, when I first was marketing the book, selling it, everyone I mentioned it to said, "Oh, I need that book because I don't speak to my
Yeah.
blah blah blah." Everyone had some story about estrangement.
Yeah.
So I realized how common it was.
Yeah.
Uh, and I did think it was rather brilliant of me to write the book.
It was great. It's a great book. I'm telling you, there are a few books that kind of stick with you and you really think about the just the overall just the fact that so many families experience this is shocking. Um, and yeah, to have a guidebook and strategies to help with this is so useful. And so we are just a fragmented society at this point, and we need our families, more than ever. So any assistance to get through this is just useful. And not everybody goes on social media. And I want to piggyback on something that you said about that. They want to remain anonymous, but there are a lot of people who have differing views on social media about how to deal with these issues, and most of them are not therapists. They're just lay people who say cut them off, you don't need that. But that's not always the best way to deal, to just cut
Uh,
someone off and not deal with them because it's still there, which is something that you really point out in the book about how painful it is to be estranged. So can you talk just a little bit about that? What
it's not as painful as it used to be. It it was so uncommon.
Mm-hmm.
I remember the first New Year's after the book came out. I was with friends somewhere, and everybody was calling their families to wish them a Happy New Year.
Mm-hmm.
And I had no family to call.
Mm,
And that felt really bad at
yeah.
the time.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, over time, I've come to terms with it, and it's okay. And
Mm-hmm.
there was a brief period of reconciliation,
Okay. I remember.
which is a story in and of itself. Um, but uh, back to the book coming out,
Yeah.
I I was very surprised that Oprah didn't call.
Yes, good point. She should have
She
called you.
should. She still has a chance.
He
We
still has
hope
a
so.
chance. Yeah.
We
I,
hope, and we also, I want to say that for us working with the families of children with disabilities, we see the topic of family rifts coming to the discussion table again and again and again. And I wanted to ask you, from your experience, is there a common theme, either the situation or the personalities, when there is family rifts or estrangement?
yes, I think so. And I think the common pathological poisonous um, element is intolerance.
Mm,
Mhm.
When people are intolerant of difference,
mm-hmm.
tolerant of different cultures, different religions, different abilities and
Mm-hmm.
different disabilities and um, character types.
Mm-hmm.
It all goes to intolerance, and
Wow.
it's very
Okay.
sad.
Yeah. Yeah. So being more flexible and getting to the point where you can be more flexible and open is something that can be helpful in
Yeah.
in avoiding it. Wow. Okay. Can you share a story just to give a little flavor to what you do and what you write about in the book? Can you share a story about a rift that you or with clients that you've had that a rift that you never thought or the patient never thought that that could be healed that ended up being healed or is in the process of healing? Do you have an example of somebody? Yeah.
Yeah, I have one very dramatic story, but it's very sweet and at the end. Um, a woman came to me for therapy because her adult son cut her off,
Okay.
would not speak to her. At the same time, she was in treatment for cancer. I
Okay.
forget which kind. Um, and she really was quite destroyed about not having a relationship. And it got worse when she found out that her son had, her daughter-in-law had given birth to twins,
Mm,
who that she also was not allowed to see them.
wow.
And it was very sad.
Hmm.
And um, at some point, we stopped the therapy, I think because of her health problems.
Hmm.
And then I tried to get in touch with her, it was a long time ago,
Hmm.
but I thought that she had probably passed away.
Okay.
And then one day I'm in a restaurant with my family, and this woman walks in with two little twin boys, about 4 or 5, and it's my client.
Oh my gosh. Get the tissues. Get the tissues.
Well, we were both so excited. We hugged and we cried.
Wow. Wow.
And the story was that her son, who couldn't get along with her,
Hmm.
couldn't get along with his wife either.
Mm.
So he left his wife, who called upon her estranged mother-in-law for help,
Wow.
Wow.
which she was delighted to help. Um,
Hmm.
and that's the end of the story.
Wow. So she didn't so it didn't heal with her son, but she was able to have a relationship with the wife and the
And
ex-wife and the children.
yeah,
Wow. Wow. Okay. That is a very positive story. It's sad that the son did not get healed with her, but the next generation will have a grandma and oh, that's
yeah.
that's a very sweet story.
And
So,
and, and also these children had some disability. I think they were on the spectrum,
hmm.
uh,
Hmm.
which made life with them challenging.
Hmm.
Daughter-in-law needed help with that.
Hmm. she was able to provide that for them.
Wow.
Wow.
That's interesting. And I think, Mark, that you're now touching again on the topic of disability here. For the families that we serve, we see time and time again rifts that happen either like through a crisis situation. Sometimes the crisis is the new diagnosis that a child in the family receives that many times end up with the estrangement from grandparents. And in other situation, it's kind of a long-term relationship that deteriorates and deteriorates with the family who's dealing with a child with a disability, really needing desperate for support, whether it's emotional support or in some situation physical support, because the kids have such high needs. Do you have any suggestions or any ideas for families dealing with the tension of estrangement on what can they do in those situations?
Well, they have, excuse me, they have to redefine family. Family used to be defined mostly as blood relatives, but family is really only about the people who love you and you love. So you create a second chance family. Um, and that becomes your way of coping and living. We have very close friends who um, had a young adult child transition, uh, which was and still is very hard for the parents to come to terms with,
Mm-hmm.
and very hard for us to come to terms with. Nonetheless, he was our nephew, now he's our niece,
Mm-hmm.
and all's well, as well as it can be.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and um, you know, their kids call us aunt and uncle, and our kids call them aunt and uncle. And we have a few more people in our second chance family, but that usually is the best way to cope with a problem like this.
Mm-hmm. And do you recommend, and I guess every situation is so drastically different, but is there anything that you recommend for families who have not necessarily become estranged, but do have ongoing tension to avoid the estrangement, to if or anything to be aware of going forward that might lead to an estrangement to and figure out ways to avoid it. Do you have any strategies for that? Because, we deal with a lot of families who are lamenting the fact that the grandparents are not involved, that they may have money, that they don't help financially, or practically or emotionally with the children who have the disabilities and their parents. Is there any strategies that you can share that might help avoid an actual estrangement if it looks like it's going toward that? What can a family do, especially a family who has other challenges like dealing with disability with members of their family?
Um, it's very hard to say because when you're dealing with people who resort to estrangement to
Mm-hmm.
contend with conflict,
Mm-hmm.
never know what bizarre thing they're going to come up with that they feel offended by.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but there's certain character types that will feel offended by um, what you didn't do for them, what you should have done for them,
Mm-hmm.
what you could do in the future for them, but it's all about for them.
For them. So not thinking about the children, for example, or the people the rest of the people. It's really just kind of a narcissistic injury that they have. And okay, so you mentioned intolerance before, that intolerance is sort of the main pathological thread that you see in families that have an estrangement. So maybe working on being just to make sure that you're not the problem, working on our own intolerance maybe, and and having a gentle nudge for the rest of the family to think about things that they could be a little more flexible about that would be helpful. And maybe if that doesn't work, you've done the best that you can, it sounds like, because we may be the intolerant ones and we don't even know it. So it's always best, I would imagine, to look at ourselves first, think about what we're doing, go to therapy, talk to our second family, as you mentioned, and really know that we're doing the best that we can. And then if that doesn't work, then maybe taking a step back and saying maybe we need to take a break or
And
start
maybe life will be better with a break.
with the break. Yeah. Yeah. And a break doesn't, and an estrangement doesn't necessarily mean it's a permanent estrangement. It
Right.
could always lead to a reconciliation. But I think it's important that we all look at ourselves first and make sure that we're doing everything that we can to be kind and inclusive and open. But then when it's not reciprocated, then we
It's
take
also
a deeper look.
so much in the news
Mm-hmm.
nowadays. Just a few quick examples.
Mm-hmm.
Kamala Harris is estranged from her father.
I'm sorry, who?
Kamala Harris,
Oh,
the
she is. Okay. I did not know that. Kamala Harris is estranged from her father. Who knew? I did not know that.
and and she talks about having created, she called it a family of choice.
Okay. I did not know that. Wow. So it's becoming more normalized, which I don't know. Do you consider that a good thing or a not so good thing?
I think it's good when people can be authentic and
Mm-hmm.
honest about who they are and where they're at in life.
Mm-hmm.
And it's never good to hide in shame.
No, never.
You cannot feel better doing that.
No,
Uh,
no.
And I think this is the situation again for many families. Once you have a child with a disability, it's not something that you can necessarily hide or ignore, and it becomes such a dominant part of the identity, not just of the parents, but of the family as a whole. So I wanted to ask Mark before we kind of conclude this episode if you had any tips or information that you want to share with the young families and older families that are dealing with these situations right now, something that they can take with them from this episode to improve their emotional well-being.
well, it's kind of complex,
Yeah.
uh, but I think talking about what you're feeling and experiencing can help.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
To others or to the complicated
to the family
person?
with the
Okay.
child with disabilities
Okay.
and their extended family.
Okay.
Um, and
So for people who are feeling offended or feeling family members who feel like they're not getting what they need, those family members need to talk to the family member they're having the issue with and be authentic and talk about your feelings.
but that does not always work.
That doesn't always work. Nothing is foolproof, but to at least attempt to do that and to be authentic and to dig deep and be vulnerable because it sounds like that's what you're really talking about, that we have to be open and honest with how we feel. And then if we can't do that, we're not going to get anywhere.
And I think with families with children with disabilities, when they're rejected by their families of origin, it has to do with the family of origin experiencing it as a narcissistic wound, because narcissists like to have perfection or like to be perceived as perfect with the perfect family, and disabilities do not go along with perfection.
You're right. They do not. They do not. So that adds an extra layer of complexity to our families. And also, we're so vulnerable already and feel so raw that to have any strife in an area that we do have control over might just seem easier to a lot of families. Like, I can't deal with that. I can't deal with that. I have too much on my plate. So that it sounds like maybe families who have children with disabilities are more inclined to be estranged because it's just too much. It's on top of
Yes.
everything else. And that's sad in itself. We don't have the resources or the wherewith, the bandwidth to deal with that, which is, I think, is very common in the disability community. And ironically, that we are the families who need the most support because we have the children with the disabilities. So it's a tough situation. So we're going to keep talking about this. And I'm just so grateful again for this book, Healing from Family Rifts. And it's also, funny enough, I had this book on my shelf, but I went on vacation and ended up forgetting it and having to listen to it on Audible. So it's also on, you can listen to it as well, which is nice when you're driving, when you're taking a walk, or whatever else. So I'm just still so grateful for your book. I think it's so wonderful and so helpful. And there are little check boxes at the end of each chapter for things that you might want to try or that might be helpful. So I really recommend this book for people who are experiencing this and not listening to people who do not have a degree in this, who just tell you, okay, cut them off. You don't need to deal with this. There's a lot of that online. There's a lot of that. And so when you talk about social media, I do think it's important to know who you're listening to, make sure that they are, a professional, because there are a lot of lay people out there just trying to get an audience, and it's not necessarily the best information. So we are very grateful to have had you today. Thank you so much. And we look forward to hearing from our audience if they have questions or concerns, and we will direct them to your book and to you maybe if you're open to that.
Thank you very much, Alma.
Thank you. Thank
It's been
you.
a pleasure being here. And
Thank you so much, Mark.
thank you, Iris. And I'd be willing to come back at some point if you would like.
Wonderful. And let us know when you're in New York, because then we can meet in person when you come visit.
And for our audience, if anyone has questions to Mark, to Alma, or myself, please don't hesitate to write to us at info@oneinsixsupport.org, and we'll be happy to discuss and refer you onwards. So thank you for listening in, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you so
Bye.
much.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
For more information, please go to www.twomomsnofluff.com. Thank you.
If you like this podcast, please subscribe and give it a 5-star rating so more people can hear it. Thank you.